Hello everyone, thank you so much for watching this re-recording of the webinar that we gave on the 5th of October, which was a Friday, with Anthony Devine, and we had a lot of people there show up for it. I think it was over 150, maybe 200 people. It was a really good webinar, but unfortunately we had a little bit of trouble with the webinar delivery system, and even the recording that we did make is having trouble now, so I'm just going to re-record the entire presentation for you to watch if you missed it or if you wanted to go over it again. I've actually added a few things, and so it's a little bit of bonus extra for the trouble. So here we go, let's jump right into it. This is the Advanced Retro Reppin training, getting you to your first client. Now, a lot of people have asked me questions. After they watched it originally, they came back and they said, well, hey, I thought you said you were going to teach us how to get our first client in a week, and I did. Unfortunately, a lot of people think that to get your first client in a week, there's certain techniques or tricks that you need, and the issue, or in my opinion, well, not my opinion, in my experience when I got my first client within a week, I focused on the things that I'm about to share with you, and within a week I had my first client. So this is probably maybe going to go a little bit against the grain of what you may have heard before from other people who are trying to sell you products, but this is a free webinar, and so I'm just going to tell you basically how it is. So here we go. So first off, again, like I was saying, just trust the system. Trust the guide that I've given you. This is not theory. This is what actually works, and it is a bigger guide. So a lot of people have written to me and said, "Hey, man, that's 40 pages. What the heck? That's a lot of information to go over." And yeah, it is. If you want a six-figure business, it's going to be more than just the two-page PDF. I recommend that you read and reread the guide. And again, I'm not trying to be rude or harsh or anything. What I'm afraid that on the Warrior Forum and with a lot of WSOs and with a lot of marketers, they sort of feed you these lines to get you to buy their product, and it paints this image that isn't realistic. You'll very quickly learn from me that I'm very realistic about everything, and I'll sort of say it like it is, and that may offend some people and it may turn them off to me, but the people who do stick around and the people who do sort of follow the advice that I give will be successful, because I'm just going to paint you a realistic picture. And this is coming from somebody who hasn't been in the industry for 20-30 years, so my realistic picture is just a total newbie guy who is just trying his best to hack it out as best they can. So the very most important thing about this entire system, about retro repping, about everything in life, I think in general, is that you take the time to plan. Take the time to sit down and set goals, and your mind might be jumping towards like systems and techniques and things like that, but really you just need to sit down and take the time to plan out exactly what you're going to do. You know, write down some goals, put them somewhere where you can see them, if that's a sticky note on your computer or whatnot. But the idea here is that you need to have a plan in place before you move forward. Otherwise, you'll get the shiny object syndrome, and you'll start going off here and there and here and there. And you'll notice if you're part of my list, I do send you promotional offers for other WSOs, and there's two reasons for that. First off, I do want to help out my fellow marketers and share their good stuff, and I do get a commission on that. I'm going to be totally honest and open with that. I do get commissions for things that I sell, but also, like I talk about in the online reputation management guide for retro reppin, being able to offer upsells and sort of expand your business outside of just online reputation management is important, particularly because online reputation management isn't as straightforward as a lot of people might think. This is beyond Yelp, this is social media, SEO, everything. So being able to add these tools and systems that are provided by other warriors already, for $7, you throw out $7 and you get a complete system, in a box, that type of thing. That's really going to help you out. So it's important that as I send you these promotional items, that you see how they fit in your plan. Does video marketing, is that something that's going to make your business grow? And seriously sit down and think, is a $7 investment worth it? So, but just take the time to plan before you do anything. Next thing I want to talk about is the online reputation management, and it really works. And what I mean by really works is it really works as a business model, and it really works because online reputation management is the extension of PR companies into the digital age. So what I mean by that is, so PR has been around for who knows how, I mean, I'm sure somebody knows, but for as long as I'm aware. For as long as at least the industrialized age has been around. And that's because people purchase off of social proofing. So what's social proofing? That's simply saying people will buy when they feel safe, and when they feel safe is when they see other people who are not directly connected with the business saying good things about it. So online reputation management is simply this extension of social proofing, and there's different means to deliver that social proofing. So online reputation management isn't just Yelp. It isn't just review collection. So I really want to try and get people away from that. You're not going to be able to charge these really, really big prices that I'm going to show you here in a second by using just Yelp, right? So let's go ahead and get on with it and talk a little bit about what online reputation management exactly is. So I highly recommend that you watch the videos in the very beginning of the retro repping guide that I gave you, particularly the one by Gary Vaynerchuk. I really like that guy. He's another guy who just sort of tells it like it is, and I think he's sort of an oracle in a way of seeing where the internet's going, and particularly this sort of idea of the digital life and real life sort of coming together. And he makes mention of this concept of it's going to be very soon where people are actually making real-time buying decisions, even in grocery stores, based off of what their social media profiles are telling them about certain products. So what that means for us as online reputation managers is that online reputation management is only going to get bigger. It's already a $1.5 billion industry. It's only going to become a bigger industry, but it also means that reputation management is starting to trickle into every bit of internet marketing. So as search engines become more interested in social signals, as social media becomes more powerful in the way that it can sway consumers, and as review sites begin to pour money into their own services, the field in which we play is going to become greater. So I recommend that you take a quick look at Gary's talk. It'll get you an idea of sort of where everything's going. And like I said before, social or online reputation management is basically just social proofing and technology to lead to business success. So keep that in mind as you sort of don't try to pigeonhole yourself into just Yelp or Yellow Pages or review collection. It's much beyond that. It's review sites, it's search engine optimization, it's social media, it's all of these things combined. And that's a great thing about online reputation management, is that you can actually create custom packages for clients, you can offer a broad range of services, and it allows you more room for an easy upsell, right? So if you're pitching online reputation management and you're saying, yes, and we're going to do a little bit of SEO, and we're going to do a little bit of review sites and a little bit of social media, etc., for our basic package, and then all of a sudden you come back 2 or 3 months later and you're like, oh yes, we'd like to add video marketing, it'll be this much more a month. They're automatically, the clients are automatically going to be like, well, oh yeah, so online reputation management is more than just one thing. It makes sense to have this additional video marketing or mobile media websites or whatever. So that's a very good thing to be aware of. So how do we get started? So I've created a quick start guide, and there's a section called the base, and I really think that you should check that out. The link to the quick start guide will be on the same landing page, download link page as this webinar, so check that out, download that. It's not that long at all. I try to keep it under 6 pages, I think, 5 or 6 pages. It's quite challenging, I will have to admit, to create a quick start guide based off of everything I've learned over the past 2 years and sort of condense that down into 5 pages, but I think it'll definitely get you a start. Shows you where you can pick up themes, where you can pick up, sort of use the PLR to incorporate that into the theme and things like that, and that sort of bring you up to that professionalism level that you need to be at before you start going out and pitching real businesses. I mean, these are real businesses. These aren't just people shopping on Amazon or something. These are people who are making conscious decisions about how they're going to spend their money in order to make their business better, and so they're really going to scrutinize you as a potential vendor, and so having a level of professionalism is very important, and that's why we sort of added all these tools into Retro Reppin with the graphics and the PLR and things like that. Sort of get your professionalism up pretty quickly, up and running. There's a fantastic product coming out that I will be sending you guys an email to, an early bird link, because it's absolutely amazing, and it shows you how to create instant authority, and it's actually using a method that I just started doing myself, because it's not just instant authority locally, but it's instant authority on a national and even global scale. And so that product's coming out, I think it's launching on Thursday or Wednesday, I can't remember, but I'm definitely going to be promoting that and giving you guys the early bird link to that, because the guy who created that product is actually also in online reputation management. So that's awesome, and you should definitely check that out. But one of the key deals that we have to sort of talk about here is, are you building a business or are you running a hobby? Um, as you move forward with online reputation management, you're going to have to make a series of decisions when you build your business, right? So I've supplied you with a WSO that teaches you how to do it, but it's up to you to ultimately make those individual decisions. And when you come at a crossroads or a decision, you need to ask yourself, is this going to be making me money, or is this just a hobby? And I think that as you sort of structure your time and set goals and things like that, that will ultimately be very helpful. So when we gave this webinar originally, we had a few comments of people sort of being like, okay, why are we talking about backyard barbecues and McDonald's? I just want to know how to use Reppin. So let me try to explain this section a little bit better than I did in the original webinar, so that those who watch it again for the second time, or those who watch it for the first time now, they'll get a better idea of what I'm trying to say here. One of my favorite companies to watch is McDonald's, and I like watching McDonald's because they're a multi-billion-dollar company, and they built it off of one very simple thing. They prepare a very simple dish very effectively. But here's the thing. A lot of people prepare very simple dishes very successfully, but they haven't been able to build a multi-billion-dollar company. Now let's bring that back to Reppin. So I have provided you with the tool to learn how to build a reputation management business. And there's going to be a lot of people who are going to take this guide and build reputation management businesses, and there already are reputation management businesses out there. So what distinguishes you from, one of thousands of online reputation managers to be that reputation manager who gets to build that $1 million company? That's sort of why I'm sort of taking a look at backyard barbecues, or just Joe Schmo making a hamburger versus McDonald's. What separates them? Why is one incredibly successful? Why is one only doing it as a hobby, even though maybe they're both very passionate about it? So WSOs are what I like to consider sort of learning how to make the hamburger, right? So when you buy a WSO, you learn the technique of how to do it. But in order to turn it into a successful, scalable business, you need to be able to do the following things. Number one, you need to be able to cater to your audience. And so that's where I talk about in Reppin finding your niche. That's the landing your dream client worksheet. You really need to bore down and select a niche. Some of my favorite niches are not sort of your traditional service professionals of accountants and dentists and lawyers and doctors and things like that. But if you think about what online reputation management does, is it helps people to part with their money by increasing trust. I mean, that's social proofing. So what I like to do is take a look at some of these niches like adult caregiving, or just like preschools for children, childcare, pet sitting, auto mechanics. So a lot of these things that require people to not only part with their money, but maybe they have to part with a loved one, by giving their child to the care provider for X amount of hours a day, or people who have to the adult care industry, or even industries that have traditionally been seen as scam ridden, so like auto mechanics. People are very obsessive about their cars, particularly in the West, and so there's this idea of sort of building up trust. So it's very important to take a look at these different niches. Those are just a few examples of some of my favorites. There's a lot out there for sure, but approaching it in that idea of how can we get people to separate with things that they love? Well, we use social proofing, and then sort of examining those types of niches. But beyond finding that niche and beyond being able to cater to your audience, right? So McDonald's only serves a very specific clientele. They don't try to sell to people who are interested in purchasing wine at $500 a glass. They have a very different sort of set clientele, and they're fine with that. They've decided that that's the person that they're going to be. It's much easier to be one type of person to a very specific group of people than it is to be a jack of all trades to everybody. I don't know if that makes any sense, but basically it's just easier. Trust me on that one. When I first started out, I tried to serve every niche possible, and that just ran me into the ground with no success. The next step after being able to cater to our audience, figuring out who your audience is, and making that decision is to build systems. So systems, when we talk about systems in business, that's essentially just being able to track what you're doing every single day, go through the trial and error process, and then tweak that system to be better than you were before. So, for example, If you decide to do cold calling, which you can, you don't have to. I'm not one of those guys on the Warrior Forum that's trying to shove cold calling down your throat. I think there are other opportunities for marketing that are just as effective, if not more effective, in my opinion. But let's just say, for sake of simplicity, that you're going to make 100 calls a day. So you make 100 calls, and at the end of the day, you get one appointment. Now, you need to be able to track that and say, today I made 100 calls and I got one appointment, because tomorrow when you go back to do 100 more calls, you need to sit down and you need to say to yourself, so I spent 2 hours making 100 calls and I got one appointment. How can I spend 2 hours and get 2 appointments? And so then you figure that out and you do it on Tuesday, and then on Wednesday you say, okay, so I spent 2 hours and I got 2 appointments. Can I spend 2 hours and get 3 appointments? And then you start making these small tweaks in your system so that by the end of even 7 days, you're now setting 3 or 4 appointments in 2 hours. Do you know what I mean? So basically what we're trying to do is be able to build something that's replicable, that you can do over and over and over and over again, and that can only happen by measuring what you're doing, making the small tweaks, and going through that trial and error process. And then once you're able to build that system that you can replicate on a regular basis, and you know exactly what it takes to get X results, then that's when you can start to scale, right? Because it's simply those numbers that we talked about earlier, plus some goals, right? Say you want to hit $1 million. Well, we know how much it takes to make $100,000. What do we need to do to go from 100,000 to 1,000,000? We look back on our numbers. That is what scalability is. And scalability equals wealth, because then you can sit back and say, well, if I can get somebody trained on this system to make 2 appointments every hour, and I can pay them $15 an hour, then I have to look and say, well, am I able to close, and then you start looking at those sort of numbers, and then that's when you can build a business, because then you can hire one person at $15 an hour to get those 2 appointments. And if that system works, then you can hire another person, and 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 that's scalability. And that's the importance of systems. So, now, the reason that I bring this up is because as we move forward, you need to keep this in mind in order to build that successful business. So, now we need to talk about how much do we charge. So I'm going to pause the video really quick to bring up a couple examples of what some people are charging, and I think some of you are probably going to get a little bit upset, maybe even, that I didn't mention this in Reppin, because in Reppin I say between $500 to $1,000 a month. The examples that I'm going to show you are not that at all. They are 4 or 5, 6 times that much. But the reason I say $500 to $1,000 a month is because I wanted to make it very newbie friendly. I think a lot of people, when they first start out, if they don't have any success whatsoever, they feel like they failed completely and they move on before giving a good chance at this incredibly successful business that could have potentially happened. And interestingly, success, studies have shown, is relative. So people feel just as successful selling a $500 item as they do a $10,000 item. So sort of I'm using Reppin, the pricing that's suggested in there, as your base point, and we'll talk a little bit about more in this webinar on how to extend it past the 500 to 1,000 and really get into these big numbers. So I'm going to pause it right now and bring those up really quick. Okay, so here we are looking at one of the larger reputation management companies online, and this is their pricing and package guide. There will be a link to this and then another example in the download page that will be with this webinar extension, or the new webinar or whatever, re-recording. And so what I want to do is, let's just go ahead and scroll straight down to pricing, because I've had so many questions about pricing, and it's interesting because I think maybe that's a little backwards to try and build a business worrying more about pricing when you don't have any clients at all. But that's maybe just my rude way of saying let's get back to basics. But to answer those questions about pricing, let's take a look at what this company is charging for their lowest package, right? So not much in this package. It's like a couple of forum profiles, some Squidoo lenses, some blog comments, social media profiles, and some article submissions or whatever. They require a $7,500 upfront campaign investment with a 6-month minimum contract at $2,000 a month. So you are looking at almost $20,000 for their smallest package. For their largest package, it is $20,000 upfront with a $5,500 6-month minimum monthly contract. So you're looking at $50,000 for their larger package. Let's go ahead and check out another one. Again, a monthly pricing of $4,700 to $8,000 a month with a one-time upfront pricing of $6,000 to $10,000. That's their biggest one. Their smallest one is upfront of $2,000 with a monthly of $750 to $1,500 per month with a 6-month minimum, 6 to 9 month minimum. So, excuse me. As you can see, these prices are up there for sure. So what exactly are these people offering in order to be able to charge this much money? I mean, these people are making this money because they've been around since I've been in reputation management, and they keep making updates to their website, so I'm assuming that they're making some sales and some money to be able to keep investing in their business. So as you see, I really think that you should take the time to come back to these pricing and packages pages and look for yourself to see exactly what they are offering. But I think the important thing here to look at is that this is a broad range of services, and that's online reputation management. You've got blog commenting, blog setup, blog network distribution, Google profiles, Yahoo Answers, photo sharing, custom reviews, video submission, video promotion, guest blogger pros, article submission, press releases, yada 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 yada. This is so much bigger than just Yelp. And again, this just goes back to what I was saying with online reputation management. It's incredibly easy to incorporate upsells into a full-on package like this, to where you're creating custom design packages that include video marketing, that include blog and content marketing and forum marketing and social media marketing, and it all sort of falls under the guise of reputation management, because you're able to promote and sort of market these new services as helps to the online reputation of any given client. And at the end of the day, you know, a lot of these businesses and companies are really interested in their reputation above all else. Even above, I think, clicks and traffic and things like that, what they're more worried about is their sort of brand image and marketing and things like that. So there's some ideas on pricing. So how in the heck do you determine how much you should price? Because we've got the low end of $500 a month, which I've suggested in Reppin for those who are first getting started, and then you've got the high end here of people offering, you know, $50,000 for a 6-month package. So what I like to do is approach things with price flexibility. So I'm not one of those guys that has a set price, and some of you may not agree with that, and that's fine. This is your business, you do what you want with it. But for me, I like to be able to negotiate, and so I come in high and negotiate and work my way down. And I'm going to be releasing a few webinars here over the next. I'm going to try to do one webinar a week just to help you guys sort of, you know, with extra training and things like that. And we'll talk a little bit more about sort of negotiating and what points you should negotiate on when you are working with clients and things like that. But essentially, this price flexibility allows you to work specifically within your niche. So obviously, an accountant's going to have probably a little bit more to spend than a you know, a preschool or something like that. And there certainly are preschools out there that probably have more money to spend than accountants. But basically, what you want to sort of decide is, do you want less clients that pay more or more clients that pay less? And there's advantages to both, obviously. Less clients that pay more, you do less work, but more clients that pay less, you end up increasing your referral network at a much higher rate, which means that you actually end up doing less work on the sort of prospecting and recruiting side of things. So there is definitely a balance, and it's really up to you to sort of decide what kind of business you want to run. And then again, you need to learn to play to the market. So try and figure out what your competitors are doing in your local area or, you know, nationally, and see what they're doing, and be able to sort of come in at a different angle with your pricing and with your services that you offer. And so we already looked at the examples, so we can move on from that. So now how do we get our clients in the first 1 in the 7 days? So number 1 is realize that this is a game of numbers and not I hate saying game of numbers because that's so misconstrued. What I mean is you're going to talk to a lot of people before one of them says yes. And as soon as and the sooner you realize that, the sooner you can move on and get your first client. So a lot of people get hung up on this idea of like, I need to convert every single person I talk to into a paying customer. And here's the danger in that idea. First off, you're going to get discouraged and you'll probably quit before you hit the 3rd day, because that sets your brain up to take criticism very harshly, because essentially if you think that you need to convert everyone you talk to, that means that you're failing every single time that people don't sign the contract. And the fact of the matter is more people are not going to sign the contract than people that do sign the contract. So you'll just think you're failing all the time and you'll quit, which is not what we want. We want you to be successful. So another one of the sort of downfalls in saying that this is a numbers game is that sort of the opposite, right? People just go through the motions and don't worry about really catering to individuals. But what you need to understand with sales is that forcing a sale on someone is only going to backfire on you in the end, especially if you aren't outsourcing. If you're doing it all yourself, you're going to spend so much time. Every single time you send a report to that person, you're going to have to resell them on the idea of continuing to pay you, even if they're in a contract, locked into a 6-month contract. You're going to have to keep on reselling them the same service that you're already providing, because they'll have doubts every single time. There's a limit to the doubts that you can really quelch, and the sort of questions you can answer and problems you can solve, to where people feel that the issue's been resolved. So what I suggest is sort of learning to find this balance between really finding the people who want your service. I like to think of prospecting as fishing. You cast your bait out there, but you don't worry too much if a fish hasn't gotten instantly, right? You just keep it out there, keep going, and eventually the right person will bite. And when you have that right client, your life is pretty awesome, because you're making them money, they're making you money. It's an awesome relationship, and then that's when they start to send you referrals. What you don't want are these clients that have feel like they've been sold into the contract, because then they're never going to get you any referrals. And you really need to sort of expand your sales funnel to where other people are doing sales for you in the form of referrals. And again, we'll talk about more about stuff like that later on in these weekly webinars. I will mention that the webinars are going to be hosted in the Facebook Six Figure Offliner Club group, so they won't be distributed via email. Maybe the first couple will, just to get people into the Facebook group, but the weekly webinars are going to be thrown into the offliners group. So anyways, back to how do we get clients in the first 7 days. Take that mindset, move forward with it. The systems provided in the guide will help you, and the advanced tactics with the scraper tool, that's like a guarantee if you just plug at it and do it. The 2 to 3 hours a day minimum is my rule for those who have never done prospecting before. You need to spend 2 hours undistracted, stay off of Facebook, don't watch TV, set up a quiet space, choose a method, and just do it for at least 2 to 3 hours a day. And don't forget to measure everything that you do, and have a piece of paper and just sit there and write down everything that you did. Maybe even do it while you're doing it, like just in the past half an hour I sent 10 emails or whatever. So that you can continue to tweak it, and you need to tweak it every single day. Every time you come back, tweak. My biggest advice for those looking to get a client, particularly one within the 7 days, is they feel this rush. And the best sales advice that I've ever gotten is simply don't act like a teenager when you're doing prospecting. And what do we mean by don't act like a teenager? If you think about teenagers on the dating scene, they are very forward and very abrasive, and particularly teenage boys who are looking to have maybe be rewarded, if you know what I mean, with relations, if you know what I mean. They're very, they come on very strong, in a very abrasive way that actually turns people off. So when you are approaching these businesses, if you're talking about closing a deal within the first email or first 10 minutes of conversation, you are not going to close that deal. That person has already closed themselves off to you. So you really just need to be yourself. If you go to the library, there's tons of books on strength-based selling. You don't have to be like a crony salesperson. You can be yourself. If you really believe in what you're selling and you really believe that it'll help their business, just be yourself and tell them this would really help your business. I can make you money with online reputation management services. I just have to be able to feed myself too, so that's why I charge you for this. And because this is a really valuable service, you don't have to be so abrasive and buy, 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 buy. You can be this sort of consulting type salesperson, and that's how I do it. I'm not a sales guru, right? I don't have 20 or 30 years in the sales industry. So yeah. So now how do we actually do online reputation management? First, we need to establish the needs of our client. As you go through the links that I've given you to the pricing and packages that other people are using, you can sort of use that as like a checklist when you talk to your clients. Just say, examine what they're doing with their marketing efforts now and sit there and say, okay, is this yes, is this no, is this, do they need this, yes, no, and then you can build this package, and then that package is going to be what you can then turn around and sell to them. I like having that flexibility in the services that I offer because, again, the increased flexibility in my experience turns into increased conversions, which means more money in the bank. So having a little bit of flexibility allows for that. Beyond the essential needs of your client, there are three basic things that we have here. The first is to set up an army of profiles, get your feedback funnel system, and create tons of content. So these three things must be part of every single reputation management thing, contract or deal or whatever you want to call it, that you do. Setting up an army of profiles, I have in the Quick Start Guide included 60 Web 2.0 and I think it's 25 or 50 local directory sites that your client should be on. A lot of those. The more you do, the better it's going to be. I'm not saying you have to do all 60 and all 25 or 50 or whatever it is, but the more of those you do, the better it's going to be for you and the easier it's going to be for you later on down the road. So go set up a bunch of those profiles. The links to all of those resources are in the Quick Start Guide. And the next thing that you have to do for every reputation management sort of campaign that you do is set up a feedback funnel system. So I've outlined a feedback funnel system in the online reputation management guide that you can do yourself just simply using WordPress, a simple page, and then setting up a few links here and there. But on the 24th of October, we are actually going to be launching a plugin that will do that automatically for you. So a simple 10-minute system, throw it up, and auto-generate everything. It's even faster than doing it with WordPress. So for those who like automating things with technology and are willing to buy a quick developer's license, they can put on every single one of their clients' websites and get the ball rolling super easy. And it's going to be a really cool plugin because it's going to have like some content locking features, sort of incentivize people to leave comments and things like that. It'll be really straightforward, really user friendly, and super robust, I think. So I'm working on that right now. Should be done here in the next couple days, and we'll be launching that on the 24th. Again, I'll be launching with Anthony. So check your email for that. You'll want to get in early on that because, like this last one, we had WSO of the day, and we do dime sales to sort of reward our own list. People who are loyal to us, they can get in early, and that dime sale went crazy. It went a lot faster than I thought it was going to be. Things started out really low and ended up going pretty high. So definitely get out early on that one. So then the last tier to online reputation management is creating tons of content. So this is press releases, article syndication, social media, webinars, Scrib, Web 2.0, etc., etc. And I really think that this is sort of how we're able to really deliver with online reputation management. And there's lots of resources out there to finding writers and social media people, Odesk, Elance, things like that. And I can't remember if I put a few of those in the Quick Start Guide. If not, send me an email to remind me, and I could do an entire webinar off of the right types of content that you need for online reputation management. But basically what we want to do is just really flood, even if we're just doing simple online reputation management. This is a great way for us to sort of create tangibility with our clients. And it's super helpful, I think, for what we do as online reputation managers to be able to offer some sort of tangibility in what we do, particularly if we're offering some of the higher end services. But just know, if you're going to get in online reputation management, you need to create tons of content, and that's just part of the game. One more thing that you'll need to know, particularly moving forward, just with the mental sort of aspect of everything, is that online reputation management is all about rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat. It's not a stagnant service. So even if you have filled Yelp with 20 reviews, or even if you've bumped off, a bad rip-off report or something like that, online reputation management is all about fresh and current reviews. If you go to a Yelp, just try it even in your local area. If you go to restaurants within Yelp or Yellow Pages or City Search or whatever the best review site is in your local area, if you go check out the restaurant section and you just go through some of the reviews and gauge your own personal reaction to some of those reviews, you'll find that Yelp profiles that haven't had reviews in a long time tend to give you a feeling that is similar to a Yelp profile that has negative reviews. And I don't know what it is about the human brain, but I found in my own personal working with online reputation management and things like that, we've actually seen a decrease in conversions when we stagnate the reviews. So if we stop this sort of continual flood of reviews if there aren't any current reviews, we actually see a decrease in conversions for our clients' websites and services. And it's simply because people are very skeptical, I think, and even if they see a flood of positive reviews 6 months ago, they're going to ask, why did they stop? What about the business changed so that people stopped giving good reviews 6 months ago, even if there aren't any negative reviews? So just realize that online reputation management, it's all about rinse and repeat. And that's a great thing about online reputation management and getting into this business, is that when you work with clients, you're actually able to show them over the course of a 6-month contract that it just makes sense for them to sign up again for another 6-month contract, right? So you can have clients for a couple years, and that's the kind of business that we want to have, right? Because it allows us to not worry so much about prospecting and things like that. So one of the questions that I had a lot of was how to outrank rip-off reports, and there's really basically 3 sort of methods that you can go through here. And the first one is flooding the search engine results page to push the rip-off report down, and I talk a little bit about that within the guide. And then there's also this idea of just flooding the page just to surround the rip-off report, so not necessarily focusing so much on bumping the rip-off report down, but just having a fair and even balance, maybe leaning towards positive, of content within the first page, so that people who do come, who do search for your client's website or whatever, they see this sort of balanced idea of what your company, your client's company or business is. And then the last and not least is negative SEO. I have never personally engaged in it, but I do know that it is out there. And I do know that there are some people who are very good at SEO who have measured it, and who say that it does in fact work. And I do know that rip-off reports usually don't have the best SEO themselves, so I imagine that negative SEO would be something that could be done to rip-off reports. That being said, let's talk about the ethics of online reputation management. Number 1, remember this, if you remember nothing else from this webinar, Everything that you do on behalf of your client, the rest of the world sees as your client, not as you. So you need to realize that even no matter what it is, collection of reviews, online search engine optimization, social media optimization, client content creation, no matter what it is, people don't think it's you, they think it's the business. And so, if you do something slightly unethical, you are creating a reputation for your client. So, if you're going to get into online reputation management, you need to realize the sort of importance of ethics and being squeaky clean in everything that you do. This is not a business you can get into by spamming, right? This is not a business that you should get into if you're considering putting fake reviews on Yelp. That's against their terms of service, which, terms of service it is what it is, but it's also in a lot of cases and in a lot of countries an actual offense that can be prosecuted by law. So, because it's essentially fraudulent behavior, and there in the United States, at least, that is frowned upon by the courts, and you can be prosecuted for that. And here's the bad part: they will probably prosecute your business. They'll go after the client that you're serving first, because again, they just know that Bob's Towing is the one that's having these fraudulent reviews placed on them, and so they're going to go after your client's business. And when that happens, that is the worst possible case scenario. Trust me, you would prefer that they come after you directly, but if they go through your client first, then you're going to be in a load of trouble, because then your client can turn around and really come after you for a lot of things. So my suggestion, my prerequisite really, is if you're going to do this, just be prepared to do it the right way. Be prepared to do it squeaky clean. Don't engage in any of this negative SEO or fake review type stuff. It's just not worth it. It's way more dangerous than it's worth. The last question we had a lot of this week was how to outsource it. So I just recommend Googling reseller programs and white label packages for online reputation management. There's tons out there, and I have included a link to, I think, one or two that I personally know of that are high quality and really sort of what you should be looking for. The problem with reseller and white label packages is that they are expensive, and so your margin is going to be a little bit less, and you're going to have to be a little bit better at selling higher. But then again, it's completely automated, so really all you have to do is be a salesperson. And it's it's a system that's proven already. So there's lots of reseller programs, white label packages out there. I recommend that you take a look at those. Google those. There's again links in the quick start guide. You can also Warrior Forum and Odesk, Elance freelance site, outsource it that way. I just recommend beware, who you hire. That's just good sense no matter what you do. And then the last is interns. So I think interns are one of the least utilized resources that we have, particularly with the current economic situation. I mean, I won't get too much into it and bore you to death, but college interns are desperate for opportunities to grow their skills and prove themselves to themselves and to their future employer. And if you really work on your professionalism and make yourself look like a real business, get your business license and have business cards and all those sorts of things, you can easily approach a university and say, I have a job, social media manager or online reputation manager, for qualified interns, $10 an hour. I mean, $10 an hour for an intern is actually a lot. At least it is here at Portland State University. And you will get a flood of applications, guaranteed. Just go to university websites. They all have different processes for how to hire. they have you like fill out a form just to make sure you're legitimate and not hiring for some get rich quick scheme or something like that. But super easy process, and the quality of people that you get are fantastic. I mean, these are college educated individuals who are gung ho, who love digital media, who think that being a social media manager is like the best job ever. Like they would just love to get paid to play on Facebook, things like that. So I definitely recommend checking out college interns in that sense. They're really underutilized, and a lot of really big companies have gotten their start with interns. Tom's Shoes, I don't know if you're aware of Tom's Shoes, a multi-million-dollar company that you buy a shoe and they send a shoe to somebody who needs one. Great business model, by the way. Social entrepreneurship is pretty cool, but they got started on interns, and I don't think their interns were even paid. So, there's definitely a range between what you can do with interns, and some of those interns are still with the company now as upper management. And that's the cool thing about interns, is that a lot of them are interested in these sort of long-term relationships with who they work with, and there are tons of interns who are entrepreneurship minded. Like, there are people who go to college because they want to be an entrepreneur, which that's a very interesting thought process. But you could totally take advantage, and I don't mean take advantage in the negative sense, but take advantage of the skills that they have and help them, and they'll help you in return. Say, hey, I'm starting this business, and I can pay you this much, but we're just starting business, and maybe down the road, if things work out, you can be my VP or whatever, and sort of work in that vein, and they will work their tails off because they're young, they have a lot of energy and things like that. So that's basically the re-recording of the webinar that we put together for October 5th. Definitely stay tuned for more webinars. I'm going to try to get one out every week, as well as a few interviews here and there with some big-time offliners, and all of that will be housed in the Offline Six-Figure Alliance Club Facebook group that I definitely think you should take advantage of and sign up, because it's not going to be free forever. I'm not sure how long I'm going to keep it open free to the Retro Reppin group. I may even make it just like a quick thing. But we are going to be opening that group up later to the general public for a monthly fee, because there's just going to be so much content, and it's just going to be awesome. It's going to be a lot of fun. We're all going to help each other build our six-figure offline businesses, and it's going to be the place to be for networking and getting questions answered, and people helping each other out. So definitely check that out. I hope you've enjoyed this webinar. Again, if you have any questions, I'm not going to be doing my questions in the support forum anymore. I'm going to be doing my questions in that Facebook group, just because maybe I can have some other people sort of help me bear the brunt of the questions and answer. People can help each other out answering questions. So that's what we're going to do. Check out that link. Should be sending that email out today, along with a bunch of other stuff. So thank you so much for watching, and I hope you enjoyed.